Hi there, and welcome to Apple World. Kids. The full length of the new Nickelodeon narrative series Quiet on Set has now debuted, and a ton of it airs numerous messy scenes about a solitary individual, Dan Schneider. When the vast majority consider Dan Schneider, they promptly think about one specific show, iCarly, which redirected whole ages' young lives despite the fact that what has been made is the way upsetting the man is, and numerous others that chipped away at Nickelodeon at that time period. As of late, we've seen any semblance of Drake Ringer emerge and recount his story, which is very miserable what he went through, and it shows up as now Dan Schneider's opportunity might be up, so make certain to stay close by till the end for all relevant information about the person behind it all. Dan Schneider, the maker of well-known shows like Carly Drake, Josh Zoe 101, and Successful, was recently applauded and named the Norman Scoff of kids' TV anyway in 2018. Schneider fell out of favor as the principal charges surfaced following the arrival of the documentary series. Schneider apologized abundantly on YouTube on Tuesday. 6 years after he was excused, he communicated a lament to everybody he had heard all through his 25 years as Nickelodeon's unchallenged leader in kids customizing and vowed to work on pushing ahead. Watching throughout the course of recent evenings was undeniably challenging, confronting my previous ways of behaving, some of which are humiliating and that I lament, and I most certainly owe certain individuals a really amazing expression of remorse. We should discuss the back rubs. Okay, watching The Substance yesterday was upsetting. It was off base. It was off base that I at any point set anyone in that position. It was an off base thing to do. I'd never do it today. I'm humiliated that I did it. Then I am sorry to anyone that I at any point put in that particular situation, and even furthermore, I am sorry to individuals who were strolling around Video Town or any place they happened on the grounds that there were loads of individuals there who saw it, who likewise may have felt awkward advantageously. Dan Schneider was getting cooked so badly in his comment area that he wound up debilitating them, which says a lot. Yet this didn't prevent individuals from offering their viewpoints with regards to this issue in various posts, like I never acknowledged how normal it was for heavyweights in the business to compose these person letters for companions or partners sentenced for terrible wrongdoings until the Danny Masterson preliminary last year, where he was indicted of to ladies. It required 20 years so that they might see any sliver of equity, and he had Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, among others, vouching for him. This world is so inauspicious, man. This really makes a great deal of sense. Nickelodeon Drake chime. Check out the practically complete disentangling of him as an individual, which generally struck me as sort of unexpected and abrupt hearing that he was while working for Scratch and Reasonable went through years doing without legitimate help, truly shows how he went from point A to crime convictions. The manner in which Dan discusses it resembles how somebody discusses a hazardous tweet from a long time ago. You're not being called out on the grounds that a few scenes in the show didn't mature well, Dan. You're being called out for being malignant. Hunter Cy Cool, a mainstream society writer and specialist for the calm on set narrative, communicated her issues with networks like Nickelodeon. Many individuals that are discussed in the narrative and the organizations that were discussed are still in presence. They've actually participated in similar programming. So I would trust that things will change and that it will upgrade how Nickelodeon functions, in a general sense. I would trust that it will make them completely reinvestigate how they utilize these children. Practically, they won't say we will eliminate this programming, yet I trust it will compel them to redesign how they do it. There are many individuals engaged with the story who ought to have a discussion with themselves about what they might have done or neglected to do. When it comes to kids, you ought to have the option to request responsibility, everlastingly until you get it, and she's completely right. The reality that they pulled off this on the show for quite a long time is nauseating, as they in a real sense destroyed various kid entertainers' lives from the show. For those of you who haven't seen Drake Ringer's Uncover, here's a shortcut. You realize that I don't have the foggiest idea what got into me, and I went too far, and this won't ever occur from now on. Well, he sorted out some way to, persuade my mother and everybody around to have me, you know, whenever I would have a tryout, or whenever I expected to deal with exchange, or, on the other hand, anything I some way or another wound up back at Brian's home, and it just deteriorated, and more regrettable, and more terrible. And for those of you that may know nothing about W.H., O'Brien Look is, and what he got charged for. He was accused of 11 includes against the Kid Entertainer in 2003, those of which incorporated a LWD follow-up on a kid homosexuality of an individual under 16, and devotees of Drake Chime all over the planet have been in full help since he stood up with various posts like I used to. Not grasp the reason why Drake and Josh had meat balanced in the wake of hearing Josh dishonor all that Drake went through. I get it miserable that Drake, who brought such a lot of happiness to kids, needed to endure so much. Dan Schneider, 100% had some awareness of Brian. Look, his father knew and told Drake's mother. However, she didn't listen. Disgrace, before we go any further into the video, what are your folks' legit contemplations on this whole circumstance? Is it looking likely Dan Schneider will confront a serious prison time because of his elapsed activities, or on the other hand, will he keep on pulling off it? Remark down underneath concerning that past remark about Josh Peck not guarding Drake, which appears to now be valid, as a couple of days prior he posted this extremely weird TikTok, which got individuals talking. I haven't conversed with you starting around 2023. Accept that as a sign that there is no such thing as you to me any longer. Damn you bug, you got splashed with the strike by sea? You never, in spite of the fact that as a result of all the backfire he presently erased it and presented it on his Instagram. I completed the very onset narrative and required a couple of days to handle it. I contacted Drake secretly, yet need to give my help for the survivors who were sufficiently bold to share their accounts of profound and actual maltreatment on the Nickelodeon sets with the world. Kids ought to be safeguarded. Remembering this openly is unbelievably troublesome, but I trust it could bring recuperating for the people in question and their families, as well as essential change to our industry, which is really advantageous to now turn out in full help when everybody is scheduling you online. This ought to have been your underlying response. Dan Schneider additionally talked about how in the author's room unseemly jokes would continuously be made, yet he barely cared about it at the time. Man conversed with me about the essayist's room from what I saw. Not cool, no. And I don't intend to remove you yet in the event that I can get straight to the point. Let me simply say no. Essayist ought to, at any point, feel awkward in any author's room ever, period. The end, no reasons. Most television journalists, parody scholars have been in essayist room, Mrs., and they know that a great deal of times there are unseemly jokes made and improper subjects come up. Yet the way that I partook in that, particularly, subscribe Apple World for more videos.